Hey guys, I almost don't want to tell you that these are online, but you should still come and hang out with me. I'll get all lonely if I don't have folks here. We're going to get right into it because I want to try to, those of you who were here last week, I want to try to, instead of hammer or point one week and then not talk about it for 6 weeks. Because there's just too much to do, so we're going to try to keep some of that ankle stuff. And if you weren't here, you'll find out soon. Anyways, don't see. Just take, whatever helps you to get really settled. Turning the thighs in always helpful for most of us because sitting is weird. When you pull even all the meat, the flesh out from underneath your butt so you can get down on those bones a little easier. And then just close your eyes and try to stack your spine up nice and tall. Once you've done that little adjusting and moving, then do your best to sit very still. So wherever the hands lie, they can be in the lap, on the legs, make them feel like they get even heavier with each breath you take. Because these natural little fidgets and movements will happen, without us even noticing so often. So to really get yourself totally into stillness, it requires a conscious effort to make your body freeze or stop moving. Soften the eyelids, make your breath deep and full as you enjoy some of the qualities that come with a little stillness, a little light meditation. So the bowl of the pelvis releases it down to the floor, but lift your heart up a little more and let that lift of the chest inform the way you position your neck and your head. It's just a very subtle lift to your chin. And then hands together right in front of your heart. spreading your fingers wide. Being aware, your middle finger and your ring finger, those guys like to stick together a little more. Your ring fingers are your weak fingers in your hands. So just be a little more precise with them, a little more stronger in the way you press your ring finger down as you work through this. The reminders of it's always strength-based first. You don't want to just force things to move. You definitely want to build. If you can create that stability in your fingertips, then you can make the wrists bend a little more. Turn the hands out. Just work through all those positions. Turn back in. Probably always a good idea, once you know which the tender spots are, the kind of more tricky ones for you, to just emphasize those, spend more time on those positions. And then back to the hands down to the floor. This will be super important. And it's as if you're trying to, get your hand out of that position by the way you press down against the mat. Silence my phone. And then once you're done, you can shake them out, make your way into downward facing dog. Oh, there it is. From down dog, take both of your heels and just tip them over to the right. Just kind of move into that side stretch. And you can get this one, to stretch all the way up into the bottom tip of your shoulder blade there. And then the other way, maybe going back and forth once or twice. Awesome. And then from down dog, so lift your right leg up to the sky. Keep the leg really straight. So, the straighter, the more this is going to work. And then open your legs up as wide apart as they can. So the top leg can turn out as you do that. And then once you're there, come up on your tippy toes on the standing leg. See if you can go a little wider. Keep reaching your top heel to the ceiling. Press your bottom heel back to the floor. And again, the more you separate the legs, that's what's going to get into your calf muscle a little bit more. Good, and then step that right foot all the way forward, come up into a lunge. You can take the arms up when you're ready, but you can just keep them down by your side, nice and solid through the legs. So like we did last week, so you're going to just try to hinge right at your hip joint. So you're just going to bow a little bit, and then see if you can squeeze your back leg a little straighter. Think of your quad that lifts the back knee. Hold that strong, and then see if you can lift your chest more. You'll know you did something right if it's even harder to get your chest back up, because it's going to challenge that extension in your back leg and hip there. Press your legs solidly down into the floor as you rise up even taller, giving lift to the back of the rib cage, the back of the shoulders, just as much as the front. So you're just growing tall. Good. Take the hands back down to the mat. Step all the way back. Downward dog. Nice. And then to the top of the push-up, inhale, head forward. Claw the floor as you lower all the way down. Good. Cobra pose. You take a few breaths here. Maybe you just kind of wiggle through this. Keeping the feet heavy, trying not to let the hips move a ton. And then back to down dog. On the next breath, sweep your left leg up to the side. And just like we did on that first side, let the legs open up however they want to, as you really try to separate your leg high, like top foot to the ceiling as much as possible. Come up on your tippy toes. See if you can go a little further than you generally can. Keep reaching the top foot up, Stretch your body, heel back to the floor. And even there, as your heel goes down, you can keep opening the legs up more and more and more. Because you're pulling this chain of tissue apart. That's when you get that stretch. Step forward, lunge. Come on up. And establish your front heel. Make sure that's nice and heavy. So you don't have to be gripping so much in your hip. You're just letting your body weight kind of settle in there. And then just like we did before, you're going to hinge forward a little, firm up your back leg even more, really make those muscles wake up as you lift your chest back. Try to keep it nice and strong. And then extend down through your legs as you rise up a little taller. You can kind of play if you go a little more chest and then a little more back body, and side body. Just trying to get, lots of direction in the way you stretch here. Good. And then take the hands back to the mat, step all the way back, down dog. Good. On the inhale, go forward, top of a push-up, all the way to the belly. Good. And then rest there, clasp your hands behind your back, lift your chest in this form. Those of you that want to take this further, keep your head pressing back. You can interlace your hands behind your head. Strong straight legs. You can make the quads squeeze a little bit, the feet press down. Give it one more breath to try to curl higher. Awesome. And then all the way to the mat. Back to downward facing dog. I think that your ability to activate those muscles is why I'm teaching it like this. It's really kind of the important part. From down dog, step or jump to the front of your mat. Take a few breaths in a forward fold here. You're welcome to take your feet wider or narrower based on whatever's going on in your body today. Narrower is generally harder, but it's more challenging to engage because the flexibility requirement is harder. So make sure you're not only that, that you're making it hard, but you can still firm up your leg muscles. Take a breath, reach your head forward. Here's a good place. You squeeze your thighs back, and then exhale, fold back in. One more time. Inhale, lift your chest. Go hands to your hips, and then keep lifting your chest all the way up to stand. Strong, straight legs, arms to the sky. Hold the right arm inside bend. The way the belly draws in, imagine it really lifts your rib cage up. And then you can play with, rocking your hips deeper and deeper into this. Down to the floor from the pelvis, and then everything above your hip joint rises up. Come back up. Switch. And everything stays nicely stacked right over the mid part of your foot, at least today. So getting your hips to the knees is huge. Come back up tall. Release the arms. Sit down into a little squat. Knees back, hips back. And then firmly anchor the toes into the mat. And then lift your chest. So the toes, but then also your big toe mat, like the ball of your foot, those are important. And those are a good focus place to see if you can keep all that going. You can take your arms up or keep them out by your side. Try to sit a little deeper into it. And then see if you can, just by pulling your arms back, your shoulders back, rise a little tall. Good. Exhale, fold forward, touch the floor. Step your left leg back, lunge. Put the knee down, and then lunge into your front leg. So guys, the idea here, and you can move where your back knee is you're really trying to get this knee as far over your toes as you possibly can, meaning as much dorsiflexion in your ankle as you can. This back knee, so those of you that want to go deeper or it's tougher, just slide your knee out to the side. And you can even let the heel come off the But again, good knee function, good hip function. You want to get your butt down to your heel as much as you can. I realize this is, some bodies are like, oh, my knee doesn't want to do that yet. So, and then one last thing is kind of just like, in this. The more you rock your knee a little more in, so it's directly over the toes, that's going to hit your ankle harder. If you push your knee out, you'll feel this maybe more in the leg muscles. So get a little dorsiflexion ankle stretch on this guy. More advanced, most of you are going to be fine to do this, but you can do little kind of like VMO bounces, like we did last week too. Just be careful. You're trying to just kind of like loosen. Probably called it that last week. Your VMO is just your vastus medialis oblique. So it's this muscle on the inside part of your knee, that quad. All right, come on out of that. Let's just switch. Let's do this quick. Through there. So you can start here, you can work again into this. You are okay to let the heel come off the mat and try to sit down totally off tension. You're just letting your body weight up. In fact, what I'm doing with my arms is adding weight too. Like I'm going to push down and load into my ankle joint. You're trying to feel some of that stretch in the bottom of the back of the ankle, the Achilles tendon. You might even feel some soleus stretching, some of the bottom of it's one of your calf muscles. Remember, knee in over toes is important to emphasize this that much. And I'm talking with people about this because this is what your knee is supposed to do. Your knee is supposed to bend. Hands straight, but the bending seems to be a real issue. And then there's always the yoga folks who've been told, keep your knee over your ankle. It's yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Because your knee should go over your toes. When you walked in the door, your knee went over your toes. When you walk up something steep, your knee is way out over your toes. Cool. And then back to down dog. And then in terms of just the flexibility, by opening up the lower part of your ankles and calf muscles, you're going to make your hamstrings feel more open because they contribute quite a lot to tightness. Take the right leg up to the sky. This time bend the knee, roll it open into a twist. Your standing leg, try to tack the outer edge of that hip, so the outer upper part of your hip, straight to the back wall, and then push through your lifted heel a little bit more. Good. Step that foot forward into lunge. Come on up. You can always take that lean forward, strong straight back leg. So you're challenging to maintain the hip extension as you do that. Okay. It's going to go step forward. So you're going to reach forward or take your arms back easier. Balance. Really light up, strong back leg. See if you can get your glute to stay tight as you tip yourself a little more forward. You can still look forward, but know where your back leg is and try to link up upper body to that back leg. All right, we're going to step back down to the lunge you came from. And then open it up so you're in warrior two. Turn your back foot down to the ground. Even take a look towards the back hand or the back of the room and see if you can line things up even a little more carefully so that where your back arm is and your front arm are in the same plane. Then just look forward and still in your mind's eye so you can know where that positioning of the back arm is. You're going to go inhale and lean back, reverse warrior. Take your right arm up to the sky. And you're tracing that plane that you just established for the warrior. Good job. Come back to warrior two. Straighten the front leg triangle. And then down to triangle pose where it is. Strong legs, and then just anchor your legs down into the floor. Try to peel it over little by little. Good. Next pose. Just take the hands to the mat, step all the way back, downward facing dog. You can head plank pose as you inhale, all the way down to the floor as you exhale. Strong legs, cobra pose, lift your chest up. And then downward facing dog. Very nice. Take the left leg to the sky. Bend the knee, roll it open for the twist. And just check your standing leg, try to keep anchoring it straight back as you work the twist. Step forward, high lunge, come on up. So the cue I like to give is, get your weight first in your heel, in the bones of your foot, then your toes, making sure you don't lose the heel or the inside edge of your foot. From there, so you're going to lean forward, and letting your front knee shift forward will make that easier to do. So shift, and try to step right up into it. The integrity of that standing, that front foot on the floor, trying to maintain that even as you pass through different poses. Turn the back leg, that lifted leg in so that toes point down, firm up that back leg, like you're shooting through your heel, taking the belly more forward. And then bend the front leg, go down to warrior two. So lunge, and then adjust it as you open it up. So just quickly do the same thing. Look over that back arm, do your whole thing, just trying to make sure everything's in the right plane. And then eventually you look back over your front fingers. So cut through that plane. Inhale, left arm to the sky, lean back. Yeah, exactly. And inhale your way back to warrior. Pull the front leg straight, look down, triangle. Again, still on that same line, like you kind of split right through your pose here. And that may mean you have to stay a little higher in the pose, maybe not quite all the way down there. As you anchor the legs down, open the chest more, you can lean back a little bit. Root your legs down, come back up to stand. We're facing the side wall. Bring your feet a bit closer together. Turn your toes back. So you're going to squat, knees, bend your knees a little bit. Spin your knees out so they're in the same direction as your toes. And just adjust your pose so that you can keep that. Your knees are going to want to rock in. Don't let them rock in. That's really the marker here. Trying to pull them out, but then seal that inside edge of your foot down into the floor as you squat. Arms up. And then even overhead if you want that challenge. So go through that little order of operations. Big toe, mound, firm into the ground. You have to keep that. You're just adding. Pull your knees apart. Take your thighs back. And then keep all that knees out. Try to squat down deeper into that. Shift it over to the right, so you're literally going to go over there. Do it on the right leg. Right knee out, right hip back, or both back, and then down. Now left. So shift, work the left foot, the left knee out wide, hip back more, and then just kind of sit down into that crease. Oh yeah, back to middle, smile, and then stand. Back to the front of your mat. Bring your right knee into your chest. And actually start to pull, help the knee pull it up. Then fire up your foot, try to lift through your foot. Imagine like you put your hand there, you're trying to lift your foot. So it's more just straight up, and then remove your hand. So watch where your knee is. You can even put a little marker here to like remind it. Kick your leg all the way out. See if you can do that. You might have to bend and get right out of there. Do that a few times. More challenge. Literally give yourself a little resistance to ride that the knee up, the hip flexion. Be careful, because a lot of us will do funky stuff to do that, right? Like we'll pull our knee up and we'll just like roll our hip and butt up. Jeez. I know. This was one of those things I remember going, decades ago to my first yoga class, and it was that. It was they would straighten their leg and then like take their hands away, and my leg went like what happened? Why can't I keep it up here? All right. So cross that right ankle over your left knee. Squat back. Level hips. So really, the standing leg is the one you should think about going down with and back with. Good. Hands to the floor if you want to go further. If you want some arm balance action, that right foot is going to latch, the toes lift to hook the back of your arm. You can do that, press your arms back against your legs. And then you can play with it. You go forward, you see if you can pick your leg up, do all that fun stuff. I know, definition of fun might be different. But yeah, your right toes really have to curl up. So it's that same dorsiflexed ankle, you're just activating it in kind of a strange way. Now once you've had enough of that, come back up to stand. George, that's perfect, yeah. All right, left leg. Yeah, this is like the most unsexy teaching you stuff that is good for your body. But I guess that arm balance is kind of sexy. Like people are like, oh cool, look at that.
As you panic, as you're going to smash your face on the ground.
All right, it's the same thing. So what you're doing is you're helping your range of motion without strength. So you can pull the knee up super high, but keep your bottom leg strong and anchored. Then play with, can you keep your knee up there? Can you keep that hip flexion as you straighten out your leg? Feel that good? VMO. Rectus femoris, sorry. I know, this is like no fun. And then also you gotta watch, like, you do this, but you went like, you like collapsed everything to do it. Look, I got the leg straight side. It's like, that's very different, obviously, than this. All right, now just cross your ankle. Right over the knee, so that same leg, take your hips back as you squat down into it. Letting that open up. And even here, so those toes, that lifted foot, spread the toes, make the foot strong. That's what's going to keep your knee from moving. That's what lets you focus this into the hip joint. And then hands can come all the way to the floor. If you've never done this pose and you want some tips, this is the big thing you gotta learn. You gotta be able to pull this foot back and the arm out. So you should be able to take the leg off without, like you're not holding it, your foot is holding your arms type thing. It's gotta work that much. And honestly, when you work it that much, you're doing things to wake your core muscles up. You're doing a lot more than just working your foot. Very nice, y'all. Okay, back to down dog. All right, take it down dog. Take a little vinyasa, a plank pose if you want it, or you're just gonna reset here. Does that not book you, sir? Like those? It's hard to do, but you get it. All right, so keep your right arm strong. Even your right armpit lifting. Take your left hand back towards your right leg. You can actually grab the ankle. The focus, like you can grab like you're outside. So you're trying to look under your right armpit as you work your way back towards your legs, that right shoulder forward. Good, and switch. So instead of just like cranking it, underneath there, really try to keep your armpit lifting up. As much turn through the chest as possible. Nice job. All right, bring the hand back to the floor. Right leg to the sky. Warrior two, step the right foot forward, make your way up. Clasp your hands behind your back here, but lift your chest even a little more. So your front knee, you gotta keep all that driving the knee out stuff as you bow forward inside your legs. When you bow, pull your hips out of the way so you hinge as much out of that hip joint as possible. So you'll probably go more to the side of your mat initially, and at least just if you took your head there, it's going to help kind of get your hips back. Then, stay active in steering that front knee out. Try to reach your head more towards the front foot. Keep pushing your butt up and let the hips swing with. And I know that that's hard to do, and they want to. So it's the strength in your back leg. Keep planting the butt back as you extend through the crown of the head. Go forward. Nice, good. Back up to stand. Really good. Warrior two. Triangle, you remember that one. Straighten the front leg back down into it. Right hand to the floor. And then, Ardha Chandrasana, or half moon pose. So you can look down to make this easier as you step forward into the front foot. As your back leg comes up, make that leg super straight and strong. That's like what is helping counterbalance your upper body. It's what's going to ultimately make the balance a lot easier. Those that want the next stage, bend your top knee, reach behind you, grab hold of the foot. The easy way is if you actually lower your knee down, you grab it there, and then hard to balance on this tree. One more big breath here. All right, take the hands to the floor, standing splits. So this is where you get a little hop and a little play. So strong arms, straight arms. To make this easier, you have to take your hands more away from your foot, like further forward. And then you're going to rock from your foot into your hands, switch the legs, jump and switch. And then do that a few times. The idea is to make this graceful, or at least not frantic. So you don't have to have your top leg super high. Your feet can be close to the floor, but it's like just learning to jump and lightly switch. And if you can exhale while you do that, that's going to help you lighten this part of it. Yeah, having your hands really close to your foot makes it a lot harder because you've got to be much more flexible to do that and strong. Wherever you ended up there, you're just going to end with the left foot in front, step back to warrior two. Yes, I'll switch. I know, we'll give you a minute because I know I'm not going to right and left either. I'm not even in practice with the backwards of the front of the yoga studio. Clasp your hands behind you, chest up. And then so your hands should be kind of right by where your tailbone is there. Push your tailbone back into your hands to initiate forward. You go all the way forward. But really, once your hands move away, you can take them over. Imagine, like each side of your pulls them apart and creates width in the hip joint. As long as you stay strong and keep steering that front knee a little more to the left, start to take your head forward, but keep trying to push your back thigh back as you do this. Good. Lift your chest and all the way back up, warrior two. And then straighten your front leg. Triangle pose, take your left hand down. So then you have this form. Our half moon is just the same thing, now balancing on one foot. So make your transition, seeing how much of that you can maintain as you step into the front foot. Balance using your left fingers for balance. Now, and you gotta know where, for the balance to be really solid, your lifted leg, you gotta know where that is. Like, it's gotta be in the same plane as the rest of your body, not too far behind you, which is a common occurrence. Bend the top knee if you're going for that form, reach behind you, take hold of the foot. All right, release the foot, take the hands to the floor, standing splits. Back leg up high, and then you're just gonna play with a couple calm leg switches. If you can handstand, do handstand, sure. It's okay if you want to get your hands up, so you like establish your is like you're going from. We're trying to shift your weight from here into your upper body. And then once you do that, that's where the switch happens. It can be as crazy as you want, but it really is like taking right away with the arm. And I just start, with your legs far enough away with your hands to make it easy. So you can just do this instead. Try to feel like you're going into this now you're solid base area. Yeah, because you really want to puff off your shoulders a little bit so you don't need a little power. Yeah, that works. So it's like, pulling this back. Let's go to the wall. Let's do more of this since there are questions. So take your, just doing circle around the room. Just take your mat, short side of the mat against the wall. We'll do some different stuff. You should be fine with handstand. I forget that now I have a little microphone, so I'll curse under my breath. And I go everybody's going to hear it.
I don't know anyone you
Okay, so we're just going to do, before we even do that, let's give you a hamstring stretch. So you're going to come near the wall, you're going to bend one leg, put it up on the wall. So the key to this is getting your hip, step is on the working leg over the ankle. So you're going to come on in, how close you go kind of just depends on your flexibility. What you really got to be able to do though, is get the leg totally straight, and then stack your hip. And you're going to fold into it here. if you're tight in the calf muscle, which a lot of us are, you'll feel it more there, and maybe up in the upper. Now, so close to the wall, like you're flexible, but not necessarily. Really, again, straight. And then I know, is it scary to pull forward from here? Probably. Maybe a little up. Yeah. Basically, the width of the leg doesn't matter so much because we're just using it to get it off.
Extension letter.
I didn't learn a lot of it.
You know, I think I hate everybody in this class.
Where are we supposed to be?
I mean, you'll feel it in different places. It's just like a chain, so it should make it here and here is usually the spots on the stand. Well, this is looking more comfortable than usual. Yes. All right, jump switch. Just switch. Let's go that weird way. That's kind of weird. It's a weird one. So just, we're going to do more handstand hops here in a second. This is, the more open your hamstrings are, it does make getting into handstand a little easier because you don't have as much to move. You make less movements to get yourself up here. Doesn't necessarily matter as long as you're here. It's really muscles that are kind of hard to stretch out. Okay, come on down. Not happy about that. So for these handstand hops, I realize I'm going to show a few things, realizing that some of you are in different places. I'll come around and help. So here's this drill. So you're going to set up an elbows and get up on the wall, and then you're taking one leg off the wall, and then trying to make sure it is turned in and straight. If you let your back collapse, like if the leg can go way past. But what you're working here is actually enunciate a little bit. You're going to pull your ribs in, push down, and prevent the back from just collapsing like that. So you have a break built in. Your leg cannot go past that if you hold it. Turning the leg in. So then I want to go from there back to the wall. If I can go below, I can go all the way and tap the floor, and then as you reverse it back, I gotta pull my ribs in. So the leg you're moving should never bend, and it should never hit the wall. If you're like slamming into the wall, chances are pretty high that you lost something in your core. So really what this is trying to make you do is be really aware of keeping all of this packed in as you start to move your leg up and down. You can go and do that if you know what I'm talking about. I'll show you one more time. Because you're going to do a great job. Ribs back, core tight. I sweep down. I'm going to keep trying to stay there. I may have to shift forward and go all the way to the floor. All the way back up. It's a really good drill to start making you cleaner on your hops to handstand.
You're like, I can't.
You put your socks on, roll around, and do what we're doing.
That's true.
And definitely you can work on it on both sides because there's a lot of benefit in terms of core strength and body awareness. But obviously, if you really drill in the handstand, you're going to favor the leading leg for handstand. So whichever leg you like to lift and lead into handstand. In which we all have that favorite side, right? Yeah. It really looks like more solid. You know where you want to space a little more. I feel like that's so much of this. It's like, where's my foot? Where's my leg? What did I do? I'm not sure.
My hands like cramp up a little.
Yeah.
Is that normal?
Because a lot of people are going to ask you to work your hands that much.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of folks are going to bring you even not just going to bring your wrists. Because you're not used to building that much strength in your wrists. Real quick, we'll give you the last thing. So now the drill for those of you that can do this is more advanced. You gotta walk in, so you want to be, like no more than a handprint away from the wall. I'm going to walk in, lean my shoulders to the wall, take the back of my head to the wall, and then I do that little hop switch thing. So pressing the back of your head into the wall, or that annoying bee, gives you a little more connection to this part of your upper body. Because it's a handstand, so it's balancing on your shoulder girdle. So if you can stabilize all of this, like hands to upper back, your balance gets a lot easier. So take one more quick shot at handstand, like a minute or more. But this is the drill. You want to get in, you lean the back of the head to the wall, and then you use the back of your head as you take those light hops. I know it's not comfortable for us because it's like, it really isn't comfortable at all. I hate it. I hate it. Yeah, you're right, it's flat ball. Honestly, the people who have a bar that I just did, it's not pleasant to press my head. You want to hear that. Is that fine? Yeah. There now. Oh, Quinn, good to see you, bud. I am great at breaking clocks. Just taking a few out of my class. Okay, and then you're just going to come on back from your... Oh no, one more. Let's do one more hamstring stretch because I love the wall. Getting tight to the wall, butt to the wall. One last forward fold here. So you can progress towards having your feet together, your legs together against the wall. Probably need to start a little off the wall. Because the idea of this is it's just going to stack you up more than most people do stack. So then just fold forward. Try to get your butt to stay back there. If you are gripping with your toes and all of a sudden you're still doing a handstand, like you got to put so much weight into your hands, walk away from the wall a little bit. Until you can actually take your hands off the floor, even if it would only be for a couple seconds. That you really are letting yourself kind of work down into those. That's a pretty flexible hamstring approach here. I'm not talking about you. I know. I was thinking it was the rest of it. All right, now you can come on back. See, you're not here. I don't have any Right foot forward lunge, back knee on the floor. Okay, so from here, you're going to bend your back knee. Same hand grabs the foot, so left hand grabs the foot. You can come down so to make your balance easier. And then all we're going to do is as you bring your foot in, I'm going to let you play a little so you can roll more to the inside part of your knee to stretch that. So we're going like this. You pull in, you can actually turn. Again, your front leg isn't turning. It's really just you're opening up to bias into the inside of the leg. And then work down into this. I know some of you like my inner thighs are super open, and then others, like me, that's really tight. And then turn, once you've worked through some of that, you're going to roll and square yourself back to the front of the room. So get more weight on the outer edge of your back knee as you pull your foot in. And then see if you can lift your chest a little taller. You can grab with both hands if that makes life easier for you. Once you're tall, then lunge down into this even more. Remember that like knee over toes, that deep flex of your front ankle. Such a good pose for so many things. Okay, release that foot, switch the legs. We'll just keep you down until we can switch. So you don't have to do anything fancy between sides. So same hand, grab the right hand's gonna take that foot in. Again, you can play around with rolling off on the inside part of that back leg. Be careful, again, that your front leg is kind of doing this static job of keep the knee driving out. That is just straight up hip flexion. Back leg is what's can mess around to change this. I feel like that should be a yoga pose, but it's, as far as I know, not. I'm sure now it is, but like just an open lateral, I've always liked it. Once I let myself pretend like I can make any pose a pose. It's been a long time since I crossed that bridge though. And then back to center. So again, more weight on the outside edge of your back knee, your front hip, your left hip. Imagine you're trying to seat that back more, wrapping your outer back hip more forward. Then play with lunging down into it. And like going in and out, like I was doing there, would be a nice way to temper some of the intensity of this. I've gone on record many times saying like this is one of the most important poses that we should be doing regularly. Just because of our lives, like Western chair-centric lifestyles. All right. Lay your back. Set up for bridge pose. Bending the arms for this first one, back of the head down on the mat. Yep. So press the head down and lift your hips up. And you're connecting, so the power in your arms, that work that you're doing to press the back of the arms down, loop that weight into the back of your head. Keep making sure you've kept good curve, natural curve in your neck. Hold that, try to lower your butt down to the floor, and you're trying to wake up those back muscles. So as you go down, the more you press the head down, the arms down to fire up your back. Yes, you do it. It's higher. Keep your chin Rest when you need to, so windshield wipers are great. Unlike last week, we're going up and getting some wheel pose in here today. So if you're going there on this next round, set your hands by your head there wide. You're going to roll to the top of the head and go on up. You can still do the low variation, that's great. I'm going to see where we're at and help some folks. Should be fine. Maybe. On the first one, we're going to do a few, we're going to give you the opportunity to do a few. Just be real steady and strong. Hands and feet emphasize that foundation and move, keep your breath moving. So you let your body spend some time, loosen it up, and get stronger. I'm going to give you something to hold on to. Remember to ground your hands. Ground and keep your wrists in front. Your hips up first. Get the top of that. And squeeze me. Yeah, squeeze me hard. Push me away. There you go. There you go. All right, round two, when you're ready, go on up. So you want to move deeper, which would be chest through the arms on an exhale. So your legs are what are going to do that. You can take your head towards the floor by your fingertips, and then as you exhale, use your legs to pump your chest through your arms. Oh, you guys are going to show this, aren't you? Go a little longer with your hands, that'll help. You can go wide. You're much stronger here than you are here. If your elbows are in, you're going to really, push it hard. Yeah. Imagine like, you're going to lift something. We'll be here. I'll show you. Watch. All right, let me hopefully not slip on.
Do you mind this?
Nah. All right, let's do real close here. Moving it on. So then those of you that were struggling to get up, this is the key. It's like, I can be on fingertips. I just need to get my hands wide and not here. This, I'm weak. But if I get my hands back, so I shouldn't be able to easily see my hands. And from there I go up. So then all we're going to do here, I'm going to lift my heels however I want to go low. I'm going to rock down towards my fingertips or even towards my feet. As I exhale, I go up and through. I can walk in as I do this. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. So it's less like up and down as much as it's through. It's like down and up and through your arms. One more round there. Is that helpful to see? And I would, you don't have to get the arms totally straight. A lot of just getting this movement in can be helpful. So yeah, try to lift your heels that you're doing. And then you come down to the hip again. This way. And as you go through, make sure to bring the bell out here. That's nice. What's that?
This one. Really that easy way in.
Nothing else we call sloppy. I don't like it. I get used to it now. You can't get up, go down. We just have like the flashbacks of the old days where people would do that probably. They ain't strong enough to hold it, so dangerous. You can't click your shoulders. All right. Feel a little more caffeinated. I'm going to take our feet so as wide as your mat. Your knees are still bent. And you're gonna rock your knees over to the right side. Yeah. Just trying to help you guys see. And then your right foot can pin down your left knee if you want a little more. You guys know why back bends? One of the key reasons why back bends make you kind of energize you. It's because of where your adrenal glands is. Your adrenal glands are right above where your kidneys are here. So when you squeeze these little glands, like think adrenaline, like it gives you that wake up feeling. So trying to also, create some space in there can help prevent you from getting a little too wound up from that. Go over to the left, knees to the left, and then left foot on top of right knee. When is that class? Is that having a class you take with your? What's that? Okay, and then back up to the center. All right, roll to your side. Let's sit so we're facing the side of the room here. Look, you guys are going to come with me. I'm going to bring you right over here. Dun, 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 dun. This is probably a bad idea. So you're sitting in the straddle, sorry. That's why I worry about the video, because then I start, I have all these people here to focus on. All right, toes up. Press your legs down. One of my favorites. So without your hands, if you can manage this, keeping your legs straight and strong, you're going to try to hinge right at the waist. So you're going to bow forward. Find that spot where it feels a little like you start to feel your legs. Press your legs down even more. See if you can tip a little further. And then you're just kind of holding at that bottom position and then coming back up when you need a break here. Again, your legs are driving this. Let's do 5 to 10. Slowly up and down. My front is just barely going to make it. By the way, if your legs are wider apart, it makes it more challenging. But also, for the flexible folks, watch your legs. Notice, are your legs rocking in a little? They probably are. They're probably turning with you, which isn't a huge, you want to try to keep them up so then you're learning how to separate your upper body from your legs, yeah. But it's not super easy, so you got it. So go forward, because I need to rock you forward. Yeah, no, you can not feel like you're just trying to push that. A lot of what's going to help is build strength in the muscles as they're stretched out like that. So it keeps you kind of safe. Good. Now, after you're done with a few of those, you may be able to separate your legs a little wider, then take it forward again. And we're going to hold down here. So same idea. As long as the legs stay rooted, you can walk your hands further out in front of you, trying to get more like your belly button, your chest to the floor. But your belly button's never really going to get to the floor. No. Well, in a pose similar, it might, but at least Stacy might be close. Yeah, but not in this one, because if you did that, you'd be doing something different.
Yeah, I love it.
And like a roll through. Walk your hands towards your right leg. rotating your torso as you go. You definitely don't have to get all the way to the leg. Just as you move to the right, you're building more and more twist. You can take a free hand and you're like the right side, the right lower ridge of your rib cage there. You kind of push that back as you puff up that space more. And that's like where, especially if I've adjusted you in this, which most of you probably I have, that's where I'd be kind of making room, is taking those right ribs out of the way. Which, imagine the column of your spine doing all of this rotation. Good. So go back to the middle as you work your way. So you untwist to the center and then over to the left side. Do the same thing over there to the left. The facet joints, which are the joints that are between the vertebra and the disc space, right? There's these little joints, but those joints only move like 5 to 8 degrees each one. So for you to get like a huge amount of rotation, you got to use all of the spine, really. You have 27 vertebrae, some people have 28, right? So it's, obviously your neck, not so much at play in this, but your lumbar and your thoracic very much are. And that's why backing off and really thinking about your turning all of those joints around the column of your spine. Cool, so go back to center. Now we're gonna do the revolve twist. You're gonna lower down so that your right shoulder, right arm are inside the leg and turn open. So you're effectively twisting your spine now the other way. You're welcome to take your left hand overhead if you want. Breathing into that ribs. And then fold back down, chest to the floor, work your way over to the left side. So on this one, the adjustment I'll often give is with my top hand, just kind of pat those ribs back. So that a lot of us will twist with our head. Like where we look, we kind of do that first. So get this middle part of your trunk to do a lot of the rotation. Back to center. Bring the soles of your feet together. Just like this. Butterflies. And then fold forward. Breathe down into the bowl of your pelvis, down into the floor, to that connection point where your thigh bones and the hip sockets meet. then slowly come back up. Face the front of the room and lay on your back. On your back, bring your knees into your chest. Pull the knees down towards the chest, letting your butt come up off the mat. And then you can rock on those back muscles on any of the spots that kind of might need a little massage. And then grab your feet for happy baby pose. Ideally, it's a good squat shape, so you're trying to pull the knees towards the floor, feet straight at the ceiling, and then butt also presses down to the floor, but obviously work with what you have. If you're tighter, grabbing the front of the knees instead of the feet can get you into a better shape. And good shapes are important. Nice job, guys. And then just release your legs all the way out, stretch out, get comfortable for Shavasana. Letting your body just rest heavily. So that your shoulders, the head, the hips are especially heavy. Begin to deepen your breath. You can stretch, you can move any way that feels good to you. And then working your way to your right side, and then coming back up to a seated position. Taking your time. And as you sit tall, relax your eyes and eyelids, but rise up through your chest. Make your shoulder girdle wide so the collarbones are at their max width. And acknowledge yourself and thank yourself for making the effort, for taking the time to be here, for doing something so healthy for your mind and your body and your spirit. Bring your hands together in that Anjali Mudra, that prayer position where the fingertips connect, even the heels of the hands, but let the palms be softly apart, as if you're holding something very precious in the space between your hands. Offer your breath to that space. We say that's as if you're holding your heart before your heart. Take one last breath in, and very gratefully to that heart, you can bow. Namaste. Thanks, guys, for being here. Grateful you come and hang out with me on Thursday afternoon. I will see you soon. See you next time. Thanks, guys, online here for joining.